So a while back, someone asked me about the different types of effects that the Shelly RGBW2 could perform. And at the time, I didn't really know a whole lot about this. So I thought I would just do the simple thing of show what happens, how this works. So right now, I've got the mobile app on my phone, and if I turn it on, then I've got the white lights. I can easily change the color. There's a little bit of a delay, not too bad. And it actually kind of fades to it, which I like. But then there is the gain, which is, I guess, basically the brightness. And according to the instructions that I saw, it's basically, on a scale of 0 to 100 across all the colors. So whatever color it's set to, it'll just brighten and dim the whole thing. I don't have a white channel wired up on these because these LEDs only have red, green, and blue portions in each LED. Some LEDs have a white module as well, or a white diode inside the LED chip. So because this one doesn't, then I don't even use the white channel. I have that turned off. Now, you can add favorite colors maybe. Now under effects, it's off right now. Now remember, because this is a standard RGB LED strip, this doesn't have independently addressable lights. So no matter what, whatever happens to one light is going to happen to all the lights on the strand. And that's kind of what the purpose of this wireless relay is. So meteor shower, I haven't 100% figured out what this is supposed to be. It's interesting that they chose that name, but it's like red to green. A little yellowish. To white. And blue. And purple. But yeah, it just kind of fades between colors, and I'm not quite sure why it's called meteor shower, but that is what meteor shower looks like. I kind of like it. Out of all the effects, it's probably my favorite. Then there's gradual change. Super gradual change. Not very gradual. I mean, it kind of turned on the green pretty quickly and then switched to green. So I'm looking at the diodes pretty closely, and it just went from red to green, and I'm guessing the blue is going to start. Yep, there we go. The blue is starting to turn on. Red is completely off. It's just switching from the green to the blue. Now we've got the blue, and I'm guessing after a while, red's going to turn itself on, and blue will turn itself off. And there we go. So this is just cycling between the red, green, and blue. And it goes in that order. So flash just turns off and on. And one of the questions was, does it have a breathing effect? And sadly, this is as close as we get to a breathing effect. And it's just turning on and off. And whatever color you set it to, if you set it to this weird, supposed to be green color, maybe we'll do like super green, then it's going to flash green or flash red. And in my other video where I was using this as a timer for my kids to play video games, I used that flash and it works great. So even though this weird meteor shower is my favorite effect, the flash is what I use most frequently because it's tied into an automation that I've done using Node Red. Speaking of Node Red, I did try to make a fake breathing effect by setting a timer in a loop and having it change, decrement and then increment the gain, and that didn't work. If I spaced it out long enough and didn't try to do too much at once. But as soon as I started sending it multiple updates per second, or even one update a second through MQTT using Node-RED, it just kind of got confused and hung, and it just stayed at whatever brightness it was set at last, and then just waited for all the changes to be finished. And once it didn't sense any changes coming over MQTT, it went with whatever the last value was. So it was kind of a disappointment. I couldn't fake a breathing effect, at least not with this Shelly relay. So I really do think that this Shelly relay it's nice for how easy it was to integrate with Home Assistant, and how it works with the standard RGBW LEDs. But it doesn't have enough features or effects or ways for me to really have fun with it. So I'm going to order some other wireless LED strip controllers, but I'm going to use independently addressable LEDs. I'm going to get a couple of those, like a strand of those individual pixel LEDs, and maybe another strip like this, only not the waterproof kind, and but with the independently addressable LEDs. And what's crazy about that is, this being an RGB LED strip, it has 4 wires: red, green, blue, and ground. And the independently addressable LED strips only have 3 wires, 5-volt or 12-volt, depending on what you get, ground, and the data signal. So it only takes 3 wires, which is kind of interesting. It might make it a little bit easier to attach strips together or to solder wires onto it. I have yet to successfully cut and solder onto an LED strip, so maybe we'll have a really fun video on that. I have gotten some LEDs, some much cheaper LEDs, like an LED power supply and controller with little wireless remote that was cheaper than this relay alone. So this relay is definitely a confusing product for me as a tinkerer. This seems like this might be a more finished product for what it does, but it's a little bit overkill on the quality of the build and a little bit lacking on the features, which is kind of like what most production equipment is. I think what I'm going to do next is just get a really cheap one of these, and then wire it into one of those independently addressable LED strips like this, and see what happens. And if it works and it's cheaper than this setup, then I'll be sure to let you know, because I think it might be something more fun and a little cost effective for what this is. Now, I will say, RGB LED strips are much cheaper than independently addressable RGB strips.